Hello everyone, welcome back to Country View Acres. So right now we have just had our first deer hunting weekend for firearm, and me and Rebecca, we went out and hunted all weekend. We did not get any deer this first weekend, but we still have some venison in the freezer from last year. So what I want to do, I want to go ahead and get that venison used up and get that ate. So I want to turn that into something that we can eat over the holidays. So what we're going to be making today is some venison summer sausage. So that'll be great for us to eat during Thanksgiving and during Christmas. It'll just be a nice snack to be able to have for anybody that we have over during that period. And it's also something that I could give away to family as well. And there's people in the family that do like you know, summer sausage, so we could be able to give that to other people also this Christmas. So I want to go ahead and make a 5-pound batch of venison summer sausage. And so I'm starting off with a 4 pounds of deer burger. And even though it's a ground up deer burger, I went ahead and reground that because I like to grind up deer twice. And all I'm using is this KitchenAid attachment. This is like a $30 attachment. If you have a KitchenAid mixer, it's a cheap alternative to be able to grind meat, because like a meat grinder could cost you $150, $200 to go out and just buy a meat grinder. So this is a pretty cheap alternative. So we've reground the venison. We've got it in the bowl here. We also have our casings. I like to use a 1 pound casing because that's more of a manageable size to eat at a time. Sometimes you'll get deer summer sausage and it'll be in a 2 or a 3 pound piece of sausage, and that's an awful lot of sausage to eat in one, at one time. So I'm going to be going ahead and using 1 pound packages. So that is a fibrous casing. It's a non-edible casing, and you need to soak that in hot water for several minutes before we end up stuffing those. And then I also have our seasoning mix. I have it in about a cup of water, and I've got that all kind of dissolved in there. And so I've already got kind of the seasoning mix put together. But one thing this venison is missing is fat. It doesn't have a lot of fat in it. And even though this was deer burger, there was a little bit of fat added from the butcher, but that's not quite enough for sausage. So I'm going to be adding 1 pound of pork fat to this. So I'm going to go ahead and start grinding up the pork fat. I'm going to mix that all in. And then I'm going to go ahead and take our seasoning and mix that all together before we start stuffing our casings. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, you can see we put all the pork fat in here, so we're going to go ahead and mix that up. You can tell a big difference between the venison and the pork fat. Just going to get my hands in here and just start kind of mixing this in. Now if you don't have pork fat, because you can go to a butcher a lot of times if you have a local butcher or anything like that, and you can, a lot of times any place that they cut fresh meat, you might be able to get pork fat. But if you can't do that, you can just buy a Boston butt or a pork butt and just use the fattiest parts of that and just try to cut off a pound. So we just put 1 pound of pork fat in here, so we should have about 5 pounds total now. So what I have here is about a cup of water with the seasoning mix in it. Now this seasoning mix is an Excalibur seasoning mix. I think it's called the H, like the letter H, summer sausage seasoning. And all we're going to do is we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of Cure, and that is like the pink salt. We're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon per pound. So that's going to end up being 1 1/4 teaspoons of the pink Cure salt. And then once this is all mixed up, we'll go ahead and add that to our meat. So we're going to go ahead and mix this seasoning in with the meat. Now that Cure that we added, that Cure salt, is going to make this very, very tacky. It's going to want to stick to your hands. So this is a little bit messy, but we're going to get this all mixed up so we can get the seasoning evenly distributed here. But this will be really good summer sausage when we're done, if I don't lose it. It's just, it is easier to just buy a seasoning packet than it is to try to figure out all the seasonings that go in a summer sausage, because it could be quite a few different types of seasonings that you don't normally keep in your pantry. So it's just kind of easier a lot of times just buy the packet. So it's getting tacky. Adding the water to this is going to make, of course that's going to make adding the seasoning, it's going to make it dissolve and make it easier to add the seasoning. But the water also is going to make this stuff into the casings easier. So it's going to make this a little bit more less thick, you know, a little bit looser material, and it'll just be easier to stuff into the casings when we use the sausage stuffer. Alright, I think we got it good and mixed up now. You can tell that it's like super tacky, sticking to my hand. So now I'm going to put this back in the fridge and start getting the sausage stuffer set up. So the reason I'm doing this in a 5-pound batch is because my sausage stuffer is actually only a 5-pound sausage stuffer, and that's all it'll fit. In fact, I don't think I'm gonna get it all to fit in here anyway, but it's just easier to do a 5-pound batch. I can mix a 5-pound batch up in this mixing bowl, and I just don't have to get too crazy. Now if you're gonna go ahead and put cheese in this, you would have put cheese in this while we were mixing it up. But I don't have any high temperature cheese, so that's all we're gonna do. So you can see I still have a little bit of meat left over, so I probably actually have closer to 6 pounds. So I may try to overstuff these a little bit. We'll see how it goes. So these have been soaking in hot water. It should be good to go. So the biggest thing here is just try not to let any air in there. So you kind of let the stuffer kind of push the casing outward as you crank. So I ended up taking a little bit of the meat out just so it wasn't so overstuffed. And now we're gonna twist that up. And then we're just gonna use some butcher string and tie this off. Okay, and there's our 1-pound package of deer sausage. So we've got our summer sausage, we've got it stuffed in the casings now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these in the refrigerator. We're going to let these sit overnight so that that cure can set in, and tomorrow we'll come back and we're going to put these in the smoker. It's been about 24 hours now since we stuffed these in the casings. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook this now in a pellet grill. We're going to use our pellet grill instead of a smoker. I don't have a smoker right now. You could also probably use an oven to be able to cook these, but we're going to just cook them at a really low temperature, and that's probably why you would prefer a smoker. But we've got the pellet grill. We're going to be cooking at 225 degrees, and since this is, I mean, typically I would prefer a vertical smoker when you're doing sausage, and then you can hang them in there, and you can get quite a few in there by hanging them. But since we're using a pellet grill, I don't think I'm going to be able to hang these in there. I don't think I have enough vertical space. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be cooking them just laying horizontal, and I'm just going to use a jerky tray so that I got a nice clean surface to keep them laid out on. So when you hang them vertically, In the past, what I've done is I've poked small holes in the case near the bottom. So as it the juices kind of come off of this as it cooks, it does have a way for juices to be able to drip out of here. And since we're gonna be doing this on a flat surface instead, I'm just gonna poke holes along the bottom of this, on the bottom side. So what I'm gonna use is, this is just a corn cob holder. It's one of those holders you would put in the end of a corn cob when you eat corn on the cob. And I'm just gonna take these, it's got like 2 little needles, and I'm just gonna take that and I'm gonna poke it in here about 3 times, just so I have somewhere for the juices to be able to escape. And then I'm just gonna lay that side straight down here on the tray, and it wants to roll on me. So, and then we'll just poke every one of these. Just need a couple holes to let that excess fat escape. So now, once the pellet grill warms up, we'll go ahead and put these in. So I have, we put our summer sausage, we got it in the smoker. We're gonna slow cook that for several hours until it gets to 160 degrees Fahrenheit in the center of the sausage. And as soon as it reaches that point, we're gonna wanna get that off the grill, because venison will dry out on you fairly quickly. So as soon as it gets cooked, we're gonna wanna get it off the grill and stop cooking it. So ideally you're gonna want to have like a meat probe, where you can put it into the center of one of the sausages and just kind of monitor the temperature. And as soon as it hits 160, you know that's when to take it off. Now unfortunately, I don't have one of those. So as it gets closer to being done, I'm just gonna have to come out here and take manual readings with a meat thermometer to know when to take it off. So this actually went way quicker than I thought it was. It took less than 2 hours to bring this up to temperature. So I ended up setting my pellet grill at 225 and it cooked it rather quickly. I probably could have set that down at a lower temperature and cooked it a little bit slower. So I ended up going a little bit over 160 degrees before I took it off. But what I did, as soon as I took it off, what I've done is I've brought it in here and I've put it in an ice water bath. And what I want to do is I want to let that soak in that really cold water, and I want to stop the cooking process, and I want to get that meat to cool down as quick as possible. That way it doesn't dry out on you. Hopefully it isn't too dry, because I did get it a little hotter than I wanted. But what this water is also doing is it's also cleaning up. It's kind of cleaning up the casing, because that casing, that outer jacket, is getting like a coating of smoke on the outside, you know, almost like a little bit of soot on the outside. And if you don't wash this off, you'll end up, you could get black residue on your hands or on the plate that you're serving it on. So you definitely want to clean these up before you ever serve them anyway. So we're going to let that sit in there for probably like a half an hour or so. We're going to want to make sure that gets nice and cold. And afterwards we can put it in the fridge if you're planning on eating it soon, or we're going to go ahead and most of this we're going to vacuum seal and freeze so that we can eat it at a later date. So this summer sausage here has been in the refrigerator overnight and it's nice and cool. So we're going to go ahead and cut this open and see what it looks like. So there's our summer sausage. Looks pretty good. So it looks like the summer sausage turned out pretty good. So now it's time to give it a taste. It's not too bad. Could use a cracker though. So it's probably been at least 2 years since I've made some summer sausage, and I'm trying to do this all off of memory, and I should have cooked this at a lower temperature than what I did. I probably should have cooked it between 180 and 200 degrees, maybe somewhere in there. That way it could kind of cook slower and it'd cook a little more evenly. And so I ended up cooking it too fast, and the center of it got up to 170 degrees. So I overcooked it a little bit. But even though I made those mistakes, the summer sausage has turned out really good still. So it's not dry, it has a good flavor to it. So this is gonna make a really nice snack throughout the holidays. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like use up all of our venison from last year and get that used up and turn into something that we can kind of snack on when family's coming over for the holidays. So last week we ended up making 10 pounds of deer jerky. And I know our boys really, when they come over, they like to eat on the jerky. So we made up a bunch of that. I'll probably still make up some snack sticks, and I may end up making some jalapeno summer sausage as well. And that should use up all of last year's deer meat. Anyway guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up. I'm gonna go ahead and eat these last 2 pieces of sausage that I've got cut off right here. I'm gonna get this put in the freezer, and we'll probably eat the rest of this up tomorrow. So anyway, thanks for watching guys. I hope you have a great holiday. I'll see you in the next video.